Rural America is probably the scariest place to be in America, and it's not even any offense to them, but I've been in places in rural America where they don't have schools, and the only jobs they have are Amazon warehouses. So the only line of employment you could possibly have, the only movement you could have in this area is be born and go work at Amazon. And that's your whole life. There's no other opportunity. The best thing you could get out of it is like going and making some internet money somehow. And that's really terrifying to me. Like, these communities are being underserviced in so many ways. It scares me because no one ever really talks about them, because people only want to talk about the small town America that is like low key more like middle town America. There is very, very rural parts of America, and these people are being underserviced in a massive way, in a huge way. And I think the worst part about it is that I've seen ads that are targeted to lie to these people, to get them to fight against their own interests. And I fear that if they're underserved in education, they might not know or understand that they're being lied to, because honestly, a lot of educated people don't even understand.
I find it so insane that in rural southern communities that are literally just waiting to die. I mean, there's the poverty is out of control in these communities. Social services don't exist. Help doesn't exist. That they still vote for Republicans. You know, they see no material change in their life. They probably complain about their life, but yet they go and vote Republican. And the Republicans pacify them with religion. Don't worry, it'll get better. Don't worry, we're praying to God, it'll get better. They don't even expect anything from these politicians.
The reason why poor white people continue to support Donald Trump, even though his policy directly makes their lives even worse, is because they don't actually vote for politicians on the basis of policy. They actually vote for ideology. Donald Trump embodies whiteness and he upholds white supremacy. And for a lot of poor white people who have accomplished nothing in life, who have very little access to opportunity, upholding something that gives them worth, even though it's based on the one thing that they had no control over, even though it's based on a lie, is more important than fighting for a system where everyone benefits. And this is why there's always this sort of state of confusion when people say, how can you vote against universal health care? Why would you not want more money going to schools? Why are you okay with a politician blatantly taking your tax dollars and pocketing it, rather than using it for the greater good? When poor Europeans came to America, they received a benefit in America that they were not afforded in Europe. And that was whiteness. And all they had to do was abandon everything they learned in Europe, abandon their heritage, their language, their customs, their traditions, anglicize their names, and they were afforded every single privilege that they did not have in Europe. They could be entrepreneurs, have access to loans, send their children to good schools. They were finally on the top of the hierarchy. And I don't think people realize how much success and building wealth and having money is tied up into whiteness. It is a political term that was born out of capitalism. And so for these white people who have not actually succeeded under this system, whiteness means everything to them. This is why you have poor people who are so against systems like socialism, even though it would give them more power. It would give them more agency. That would actually require that they give up the one thing that they value the most, the one thing that gives them value. And if that means worshiping someone like Donald Trump, while he destroys Social Security, makes their lives more unaffordable, makes it more difficult for them to access healthcare, that is what they're willing to sacrifice.
Rural America keep voting against their own interest for decades because they vote for punishment and not policy, but they end up getting hit by the same policies they were being told would punish other people. That's why hate and racism is very expensive. So let's have a look. Please like and help the video, right? And let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I'm here because they took the SNAP benefit away from my mom and my handicapped brother. And this is my first time in the pantry. I've been here since 8 o'clock this morning. And there's like maybe 45 people in front of me. And I'm just here for the first time. I don't know what they're going to give, but at least it will help me out to help them, because they took their SNAP benefits away, and stuff are expensive.
I still feel bad that I have to come up here and sit on a line, to get food. It's embarrassing as hell.
Leo and Donita Barnett are among the 175 households receiving food today.
Thank God we got it. We'd probably be sitting down there laying underneath a tree somewhere.
It's a matter of life or death.
It is.
Pastor Marty Reese oversees the distribution.
We're in serious times. I mean, people are struggling. Cost of living has went up. Everything has went higher.
Are you seeing more people coming through these lines?
We used to see maybe 50 to 60 cars. It's doubled, and it's probably going to get worse.
Feeding nearly 375,000 people falls on Harvesters, a nonprofit food network. But cuts to government programs, including more than $1 billion in federal food aid, along with rising inflation, translates to fewer donations than previous years. 1 in 7 people in 27 counties across Kansas and Missouri are food insecure.
They do pantries every now and then at churches, but it's mostly just boxes of like beans and rice. There's not food banks that you can walk into and like choose what you want like in other places, or even good resources that can give you like dairy or meat or canned food that's not like garbanzo beans. Mostly what we get in our food pantries are things that people clear out of their pantries and they don't want and they don't eat, so they give it to other people. There also are really no homeless shelters. If you go to the bigger cities, you know, like I mentioned, Charleston, Lexington, Louisville, things like, yeah, there's homeless shelters there, but in the smaller communities, in the smaller towns, smaller areas, there's simply not a thing. The homeless community can't even get food stamps because they require you to have an address to send the letters and stuff to for you to get food stamps. And if you don't have a shelter, if you don't have an address to use, then you just get no help. If you're unlucky enough to be born into circumstances that are completely beyond your control, then you're probably going to live like that for the rest of your life unless you really fight to get out of it. Let's face it, you have to have some sort of money saved up to move out of state. If you're working paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by or not scraping by at all, then you're not going to have the money that you need to move. So you literally become stuck in the mountains, and that's what you become accustomed to, and that's what you become used to. I was born into extreme poverty, and the only way that I was able to get out is because my dad lived in another state. So we moved here, and now my kids will not have the same lifestyle I had growing up. And also, another thing people don't realize, you don't know you are in extreme poverty when you're in extreme poverty. This is a conversation I had yesterday. You don't realize when you're growing up poor that that's not normal. I grew up so poor that we couldn't afford to buy a 50-cent bottle of shampoo or conditioner or body wash or anything. I didn't realize that wasn't normal. Not everybody struggled like that because that's what I was used to. And I've sat back many times and been like, I'm so thankful that like my kids don't know that reality, and they won't know that reality. But it is a fight, like a fight for survival to get out of that situation. It's a lot harder to survive in those areas than people truly give the citizens credit for.
And y'all make sure y'all wear those MAGA hats when y'all standing in line at those food banks. They gonna feed you, because that's what they're supposed to do. They gonna feed you, but you make sure you wear that MAGA hat.
They have no access to health care whatsoever. There's a lot of people that have major dental problems because they can't see a dentist and they've never been to a dentist in their entire life. Healthcare in the United States is a pay-to-play game, and a lot of people do not have access to affordable healthcare. And so there are people that are literally dying because they cannot go to the doctor.
Screw the Republican Party. I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I'm 62 now, and I'm embarrassed to say I've stuck it out this long. The last 10 years have been enough of this crap.
Why do Americans vote against their own interests so often? The answer is a lot more nuanced than you'd think, and I'll address that in this video. This is a great question, not only because it's been the most asked question I've gotten from non-Americans, but it's a conversation I've had dozens of times over the years with friends and colleagues. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons, and we're just going to touch on a few. Number one, the Heath Ledger Joker voter. To quote Alfred, some people just want to watch the world burn. I wanted to address this one right away so you don't think it's the whole point of this video. Yes, a very small percentage of people vote against their own interest because it also harms people they don't like. They are so filled with hate, they do not care about their personal outcome as long as it negatively affects groups or people they do not like. I don't believe this is prominent, definitely under 5% of voters if I were to throw out a number, and I just wanted to get this one out of the way. Number two, identity over material interest. Many Americans vote based on who they are rather than what helps them. A working class man in rural Ohio may vote in the interest of a millionaire because he identifies more with the cultural values of the wealthy class. Individualism, patriotism, and religion rather than with his own economic circumstances. Number 3, media and narrative control. The American media landscape is heavily consolidated. A few corporations own most major outlets, and right-wing media in particular has mastered emotional storytelling, fear, grievance, and nostalgia. When people hear tax cuts create jobs, they don't. Or regulations kill small businesses, they certainly can. And they hear it every day for 30 years, they internalize it. It becomes identity, not policy. Propaganda isn't just about lies, it's about repetition and framing. Number 4, economic stress and cognitive load. When your every waking hour is spent just trying to survive, there is no time left for revolution. The bandwidth isn't there to search for actual truth, and voting becomes emotional, habitual, tribal, and largely symbolic. Number 5, the two-party trap. Many American voters feel forced to pick the lesser of two evils. The Democratic Party often talks populism but governs corporately, and the Republican Party talks cultural populism but governs for the wealthy. Either way, working class voters get a symbolic gesture instead of systemic reform. Number 6, the big one, the myth of meritocracy. Here is where I think the majority of folks vote against their interests. In America, from the time we are toddlers, we are anointed with a birthright called the American dream. This ideology tells us that if we work hard enough, we will be successful, and that every American has the same potential for financial success. So when we see policies that distribute wealth more evenly, we tend to think, I might need that tax cut someday, or punishing success today is the same as punishing my own future success. And I think this is the best attribute of the American people. This very high level of optimism. We are just one garage-based tech startup from wealth and the comfort that comes with it. This has been the fabric of our country for over 250 years. But this aspirational mindset combined with the shame surrounding poverty means people sometimes defend a system that exploits them because they're taught that failure is personal, not structural.
Yeah, every year, the Republican politicians, they come and promise big things, economic revival, stronger jobs, lower cost, and a better future. But after the election, they always find themselves with the same hardships, stagnant wages, hospitals closure, and losing their social security programs, but they keep voting for them over and over again. They have been convinced that they are better than the black people, the brown people, and the immigrants. They have been told also that they are the problems as to why they are struggling, instead of questioning leaders who come and promise things and they don't deliver, Instead of asking why leaders fail to deliver, they always focus their anger on other people because that's how they have been trained for years. But the people should demand results rather than blind loyalty. Politicians should earn your support through performance, If the politicians come and promise lower cost, people should ask whether the cost went down, If they promise to protect social programs, people should question when they get cuts or even reduced instead of blaming someone else for their own problems, Because politicians come and go, elections come and go, but the same struggles people face will always remain, But the thing is that black people, brown people, immigrants, they all need the same thing, And no group is special than the other. But when people vote out of anger, fear, hate, or even racism, that's how they end up hurting themselves. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.